Hey guys, my name's Carlos Murrieta.
And I'm Andrew Fry.
And welcome back to On Deck. All right, we had a pretty wild week so far in the playoffs. What are your initial thoughts so far?
Well, there have been some wild games in the postseason so far. What a weekend for baseball, the wild card weekend. The biggest surprise, I think, is, I'm a Mariner fan, so I'm biased. But the wild Game 2 comeback, the Mariners rally all the way back to take down the Blue Jays. It was 8-1, I believe it was, after 5 innings, and then it was 9-5 going into the 8th. The Mariners stormed back on the back of Big Dumper, Cal Raleigh. Are you kidding me? Corn-fed Cal. It was great to see him come alive, and now he's actually getting some national recognition. You see guys on one of my favorite sports talk shows, PTI, pardon the interruption. Kornheiser, Will Bond, these guys are legends in the industry. Talking about who? Cal Raleigh. And before this series, nobody really knew who he was. He was just some catcher, some young guy on the Mariners. And now he is not only a Mariners postseason hero, but he's getting a lot of national airtime.
Oh, yeah. And that's what I love. This is what I love about the postseason. You hear a lot of unheard names throughout the regular season, and they just show up and they go off. And that's why I love about postseason baseball.
Travis Ishikawa.
That's one right there.
That's the beauty of baseball right there. And we're getting off a little bit, off the rails a little bit to begin with.
Oh, no, that's okay.
The beauty of baseball, why this is the greatest sport, in my opinion, you're not always going to have the ball in your best player's hands. It's not always going to be the Michael Jordan of your team taking the last shot. Sometimes it's going to be the 26th man on the roster. We look back at 2014, the Giants make a run at the World Series. Travis Ishikawa hits a ball deep into right field at Oracle Park. You remember the Joe Buck call?
Oh, yes.
Hits one into right, and the Giants win the pennant. Travis Ishikawa, nobody had even heard of this guy. He's not even supposed to be here, right? He was in the minor leagues most of the year. But the beauty of baseball is sometimes, in the keyest, clutchest moments, the last guy on the roster, the guy who nobody even thought would be in that at-bat, gets that at-bat, he comes through in the clutch, and now he's a legend.
And it's beautiful. How could you not be romantic about baseball?
That's a
just
great
like
question.
that. It's amazing. But let's start off with the wild card recap. All right, we're going to start in the AL. Of course, Mariners versus Toronto. We already touched up on that a little bit. And for me, a little bit surprised that Toronto failed to show up.
That's true. And Vladdy Jr. said last year, if this season is the trailer, next year will be the movie. Well, I think we're still kind of waiting for the movie, honestly.
Yeah.
And it couldn't have gone better in Game 1 for the Mariners. 2 script. That is Mariner baseball. Luis Castillo comes out and throws 7 1/3 and shoves it. And the only reason he came out of that game was because a pitch got away from him. One of the only mistakes he made all afternoon was to hit George Springer on the hand. And then Andres Munoz. How much praise can we give this guy? The man throws 103 miles an hour, and his best pitch is his slider, which comes in at 93. Tim Kirchin was on that broadcast talking about how back in his day, 60s, 70s, 93 was an above-average fastball. Like, nobody threw 93 back in the day. And now it's his slider. That's how much pitching has changed. That's how much the game has changed. And that's how much harder hitting has become. But it could not have gone better for the Mariners. The pitching was dominant. And the bats did just enough against Alek Manoah, who will get some Cy Young votes, even though Verlander's going to win it.
The bats did definitely wake up. That's for sure. And to go back to your point of 93 only being the average before, right, as of this season so far alone, over 1,500 pitches are above or at or above 100 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think. And I remember being a kid, seeing 100, but back when Chapman just debuted, we were like, oh my God, he can throw 99, 100. Exactly, back in the Reds. And now it's like, it's normal. And it just happened pretty quickly. But at the same time, rise in Tommy John surgeries, a lot of arm injuries, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not.
Also true. There needs to be there's some correlation there between how hard you're throwing pitches and how much effort you're putting in. Because some of those older guys, like Bob Gibson, for example, he threw hard, but was he ever putting 100% of his effort into a pitch? I don't think so. And this guy pitched in the 60s. And the mound actually was lowered mostly because of Bob Gibson, if you remember this. He was so dominant in that 1968 season that they actually lowered the mound because the pitchers were just too great, led by Bob Gibson. But yes, this postseason series, Mariners, Blue Jays, probably I think the most enticing of the weekend. I mean, you go around the league. Obviously, the Rays and the Guardians scored 1, 2, 3, 4 total runs in 23 innings. I mean, that is not exactly your casual fans, viewing. Preference, really. They want to see high-scoring games.
Yes.
But when that game goes 15 innings and Oscar Gonzalez, the SpongeBob man, goes deep to end it. Wow, what a finish. And I was watching the Mariner game at that point, but I saw the highlight, and obviously the Cleveland fans are going crazy, and now they're in New York.
Oh, yeah. And as we saw, Mariners won that series 2 games to zip and would win that game 9-8, which is beautiful. But we're going to move to Tampa Bay versus Cleveland, which I think is the most surprising series behind the Padres and Mets, of course, because there was no hits, no runs. For some reason, the pitchers looked amazing, or was it that, or is just the bats went cold?
I don't think it's really that surprising, honestly. When you're going to start Shane McClanahan, who will finish second in Cy Young voting, probably to Justin Verlander, and then Tyler Glasnow, who we know was fantastic. He's coming off of Tommy John surgery. And then, the Rays bullpen is probably the top 3 in the American League, probably, with Peter Fairbanks, and he was not great in Game 2. He loaded the bases and then got taken out, but Jason Adam came in and bailed him out. They also had Drew Rasmussen, the former Oregon Beaver, coming out of their bullpen, who's been fantastic all year. You'll remember he was 1 out away from a perfect game just a couple of months ago before he lost it. So Tampa Bay's pitching is top-notch. I mean, they're so
phenomenal.
Good. Cleveland, they have a good bullpen. Emmanuel Clase was probably one of the greatest relievers in baseball this year. Maybe not. Maybe he was the greatest reliever in the American League. Who knows? And the back end of their bullpen's really sharp. Tristan McKenzie, great young star. Shane Bieber, I think he won a Cy Young a couple of years ago.
I believe so.
And he's just electric. He's just really good, Shane Bieber. So I really don't think it was very surprising that the bats went cold. The Guardians don't hit a lot of home runs. I think they were last in the league with 120-something. Keep in mind, Aaron Judge hit 60. So Judge almost had half the home runs as Cleveland's entire team, which is kind of crazy. In Tampa Bay, they've just been stone cold lately. I mean, they've lost, I think, 23 of their last 33 ball games, something like that. Or maybe Cleveland won 23 of their last 33, but Tampa's been ice cold. So it was really no surprise, I don't think, that Cleveland won that series.
I would agree with you. Plus, playoffs is all about who's hot and who's not, and Tampa rolling in cold like that, it was not good. It wasn't good. Exactly. I thought Tampa was going to come out there with Randy Arozarena.
Yeah,
but
playoff monster.
Yeah, literally. But he did show up a little bit, but at the same time, it just wasn't enough. As he didn't have any help behind him. And Stephen Kwan did his job as well.
He did.
He's a youngster who we pointed off in our first episode before, but I love that. But
gotta love Stephen Kwan.
I can't wait.
Another former Beaver. He was actually teammates with Drew Rasmussen. They faced each other in the 8th or 9th inning. Rasmussen got him.
Wow. I can't wait to see more matchups like that, though. That is going on. But all right, we're going to move on to the NL wildcard now. We're going to start with Philly and St. Louis. This one, I feel bad for St. Louis more, as Yachty, Wainwright, and Pujols.
Well, Waino might not retire.
Maybe.
He might not. I don't know actually the updated information on that. But I know Yachty and Pujols definitely gone, which is too bad, because now you can officially say that they are indeed history. They will no longer be playing anymore. And they've been playing as long as you and I have been alive. So it is tough to see those legends of the game going. Obviously, they're shoo-ins for Cooperstown, so we'll see them. We'll hear from them again. But the offense for the Cardinals went quiet. I mean, the bats were dead. And the only runs they scored, I think, in that entire series was a 2-run pitch-hit home run from a guy named Yepez. Now, raise of hands, who knew Juan Yepez's first name before this series? I can't raise my hand. No. Nobody knows who this guy is, Juan Yepez. I kind of did, honestly, because I'm a Brewers fan, and so I watched the Brewers game, so I kind of know a little bit about him. But this is a guy who came off the bench, provided some instant offense, and they didn't know at the time that'd be the only offense they got the entire series. And then the bullpen comes in, or should I say the blowpen, comes in and blows that game one, gives up 6 runs in the 9th inning. And they can't get going offensively in game 2. Cardinals are done.
Nope.
Phillies moving on.
And that's 2 games. Also, 2-game sweep right there for the Phillies. And honestly, for Phillies to go at St. Louis like that, in St. Louis at Busch Stadium, that's a little bit of a surprise to me too, right there.
Yeah, and the Phillies, I mean, their front end of the rotation is as good as anybody. You know, Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola. I mean, if you want a game 1 and 2 starter on the same team in the postseason, I'll sign up for that.
Oh, yeah.
It's either them or the Astros, basically the best 1-2 punch, I think, in baseball.
Oh, yeah. I agree with that for sure. But I just can't wait to see what else goes on, especially with yesterday's game. As we're filming this right now, the first NLDS games happened yesterday.
They did.
And that's before we shift into the Division Series game. We're going to go into our last wild card, and preferably my favorite, which is San Diego versus the New York Mets.
Well, this is your team. You're a Padres guy.
Yes.
You're a Friars fan. Tell me about this series.
Wow. I have a lot of emotions for this, but I will try to keep as neutral as I can. But New York just died. There was nothing. First game, we got the Scherzer easily with
pounded him.
Yeah, we pounded. That was all home runs. All runs, and then after that bullpen shut us down. Oh well. But Darvish pitched an amazing game, only giving up 1 home run and 2 hits. That was it. And wow. Like, first game, I was like, wow, okay. And I know from the past, this season, we're 4-2 against the Mets. We have a pretty good success against them. And it's, of course, DeGrom shoved us in second game. You can't complain again about that. Third game, it's Bassett. Who's
had a great year.
He had an amazing year. He really had a great year, but he just did not have enough in the tank to be it. And Musgrove only giving up 1 hit through 8 in less than 100 pitches. Now that is my player. And then they checked him for
I was about to
substance.
Ask. Tell me your opinion of Buck Showalter.
Honestly, I can't blame him. In the moment, I was mad. I can't lie. I was mad. It's annoying. And then if you're going to check someone, you better be right. That's the thing. You better be right. But now that I've cooled off, you kind of looked at it, you're desperate. You're going last. You have a pitcher that's going to shoving your team.
Getting 1 hit.
Yeah, getting 1 hit. You might as well. You're desperate. Your season's on the line. I understand it. And you know what? It's water under the bridge now. I understand it. But at the same time, it is annoying, though. But it's also good that we don't have another player on the Padres cheating that we will not mention.
But that's good.
Yeah, but overall, I'm happy, though.
I was watching this game a little off and on, but I saw some clips. As early as the first inning, Buck was getting balls thrown out of play by Musgrove that he had thrown already, and he was feeling these balls as early as the first inning. Right, and so Buck and the Mets saw something pretty early on, and I'm guessing they were monitoring it. And again, as they're getting pounded, they're like, well, we might as well check it. But I was watching PTI, like I said, one of the greatest sports shows in the nation.
Of course.
And Michael Wilbon was not happy about Buck Showalter, and Kornheiser wasn't either, about Showalter asking the umpires really to like rub down his ears, basically like patting down his ears and like rubbing the insides and all of that. It was just weird, and to see that in a postseason game, the umpires going out and rubbing a guy's ears, it's not a great look, I don't think.
No.
But again, Showalter was desperate. He manages the Mets. He wants to win every game, otherwise they're going to boo him, right? And so it's just a really strange situation.
It is. I will say, fun fact, that's the umpire who touched Musgrove's ears was the same umpire who had to touch that one Indians pitcher hair before when they had checked them.
What was his name?
I forgot. That's the thing.
That's right.
I don't remember.
I remember
but
that
it's the
too.
same umpire.
Yeah.
And then that umpire's just...
He's having to feel people up. I mean, what can you say? Part of the job.
It's part of the job, but it's what he does. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
All right, that's the wild card recap. But San Diego, that's the only game that went to the third game, which honestly, it was worth it. It was very worth it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of these 3-game series now. I mean, the 1-game playoff to decide, after a 162-game stretch. I mean, it's intense, yes, and it's entertaining. But at the end of the day, is it fairest to the teams to play a 3-game series? Absolutely. And they're used to going into somebody else's ballpark or hosting a team for a 3-game series over the weekend. So it had elements of the regular season incorporated into a postseason atmosphere, which was just fantastic.
I totally agree with that. But with that, let's move on to the ALDS first. So first matchup now, we already talked about Cleveland and the Yankees. And that is Evan's team, of course, but it is I was talking about. But I personally think Yankees are going to take this away. They're just a juggernaut right now in the AL. Cleveland's just a young team, but I think Yankees are going to take this away 3-1. Well,
Cleveland has the youngest starting lineup in baseball, and they have one of the lowest payrolls. So this team is on the come up, as they say. They're going to be so good in years to come. This is a quick rebuild. I mean, it was only 6 years ago they were in the World Series, and they had some contending teams after that. Now, they were bad for a couple of years, but now they are back, and they finished hot. They won 23 of the last 33, as we said earlier. And it's going to be tough. It's always tough to go into Yankee Stadium and win. But in Game 1, that was the game. If they're going to lose one, that'd be the one they'd have to lose, because there's Garrett Cole against Cal Quantrill, who's the Guardians' 3 or 4 starter. And so now what they've got, the Guardians, they've got lined up to pitch Shane Bieber and Tristan McKenzie against probably Nestor Cortez and another Yankee starter. So I think they're going to have the edge in these pitching matchups. At least it's going to be close, because Nestor Cortez, they call him Nasty Nestor for a reason.
Oh, yeah.
But it's going to be close. They've got their top guys going. And yesterday they kept it close, even with Quantrill on the mound. The Yankees hit a few home runs and they pitched well, which is their bread and butter. That's how they win. They hit a few long balls and they pitch. So yes, I think going forward in the series, if there's going to be an upset, I think it's going to come from this series. And me being a Mariner fan, we're going there next, aren't we?
Probably. But hey, as long as Cleveland the pitching can keep up, the hitting can stay consistent, and Austin Hedges in the Keystone can keep up and be an amazing catcher he is. And I know that because he was an ex-Padre, but he can't hit for anything. No, that's the only thing. But
most catchers can't.
No.
Unless your name is Big Dumper, of course.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. But it will be a series to watch, and I believe this is going to be one of the upsets, hopefully. Not hopefully, but we'll see.
Agree.
We're gonna
no, hopefully is the right word.
You're right. Okay, we're going to say it like that. But next series, Seattle, Houston. I'm going to let you take this away. I know, the first game was a heartbreak. And I'm just going to say, you never put in a pitcher through history with 2 days rest, a starter to close out a game, as we saw Kershaw, and how many years? Like 6 years apart from last year. But I will let you take this away.
So I have a lot of things to say about this. First of all, I think we Mariner fans know what depression feels like now. But look, this is what we've hoped for. 21 years us Mariner fans have been starved for postseason play. And now that we've got it, we know what it's like now. We know what it's like to have a game ripped out from under us, especially when you have the back end of your bullpen who's been so great all year. You're going to go to Castillo, you're going to go to Munoz, and you're going to close out the game with Sewald. What more can you ask from Logan Gilbert? Matt Brash was fantastic yesterday. Logan Gilbert was great. He put up almost a quality start. Or maybe he did. I forgot how long he went. I think it was 5 1/3 or 5 2/3. Look, they gave up 8 runs. How much fault is that on the offense? 0. Because the offense did everything right. They scored 6 runs off of Justin Verlander through 4 innings. How much more do you want? This is off of Justin Verlander. He's 39 years old. He's going to win the Cy Young. He's pitching like it's 2012. He had a sub-2 ERA this year. This is the best pitcher probably in all of baseball. And you put up 6 runs in 4 innings. The problem is going to be going forward, can the offense regain their confidence in themselves? Can they feel empowered? Because when you score 6 runs off of Verlander and tag on another one late to score 7 runs against probably the best pitching team in the league, you score 7 runs against them and then you give up 8, those hitters, I think, after the game, and maybe now, but they have mental skills coaches, so I can't tell you what they're thinking right now. But especially after the game, they're thinking, what more can we do? I mean, we're up there battling. We're up there giving you everything we've got, and we succeeded, and it's still not enough. And when you're at the plate in the major leagues, you have to think that I'm the man, and I'm going to rip one into orbit. And when they think that they can't do it, when they think that they're not enough to win a ball game, that's when you start running into troubles. Framber Valdez, who had a long string of quality starts this season, I think it's an MLB record, is going to go in Game 2. His ERA is sub-3. It's actually lower than Luis Castillo, who we all think of as a top 10 pitcher in the league. So it's not going to get any easier. It's going to be tough. And Framber Valdez, great ground ball pitcher. Luckily, the Mariners have 2 of the top fly ball hitters in the league, Cal Raleigh and Eugenio Suarez, both in the top 5, both behind Mike Trout, I should say. Well, Mike Trout's going to be Mike Trout. But in that 9th inning, we'll go back to that. Paul Sewald hits the 9-hitter, which you can't do, and gives up a base hit on a perfect pitch to Jeremy Pena. It was he dotted up a slider on the lower outside corner, and Pena, credit to him, found a way to get on. The problem is, and I've thought about this for hours now, even though it happened yesterday, The problem is there were no good options once Jordan was coming up. Zero good options. Yeah. The best option may have been to walk him, but that plays probably the biggest risk because then a single ties the game and a double wins it. And you got Bregman, who had already had 3 hits in the ball game. But is Paul Sewald going to be able to retire him? Who knows? Paul Sewald, I don't think was the guy to face Jordan because his slider would break right into his barrel and Jordan crushes off-speed pitches better than he hits fastballs, actually. And that's why they didn't go to Swanson. Because Swanson, as we know, has the great splitter, who has been great against lefties all season long with that splitter that breaks away from the lefties. Jordan, as I was doing some research this morning, is hitting 350 or something like that on off-speed pitches, which are changeups and splitters and forkballs and things like that. And he's slugging just about 900.
That's crazy.
The best option, according to the numbers, is to go to Robbie Ray or to walk him. And still, Robbie Ray is not a great option because he gave up the most home runs in the big leagues this year. So they're really in a bind. And the best way to get out of that inning, obviously, is to get the hitters out before Yordan Alvarez. You do not want to see him at the plate at all with runners on base.
Especially when he is the most powerful lefty in the league.
That's right.
And he's dangerous there. But currently, see, it's only game 1. Houston leads 1-0. Do you think there could be maybe a momentum change if they go back home?
Well, momentum, Earl Weaver always said, momentum stops with tomorrow's starting pitcher. So Houston's momentum depends pretty solely on how Luis Castillo pitches. Because I think while the offense might get off to a slow start, if they can hit a ball out of the ballpark here and there and the Mariners grab an early 1-run, 2-run lead and Luis Castillo is as good as he has been, the Astros are going to score runs off of him. They have a good offense. Are they as good as the Blue Jays? Maybe not. So if Luis Castillo can do the same thing he did in Toronto, we're in a good shape. We're in a good spot. Oh, yeah. But is that realistic? That's what we have to ask ourselves. And I think he has the stuff. He has the potential to be excellent. I think he will be excellent. But it's going to depend on, I think, who hits the most home runs. We're going to need Gino to step up. Julio is going to need to hit more doubles. Cal's going to need to ride one out of here. And the bottom of the lineup is going to need to find ways to get on base against a very tough Framber Valdez. So if the Mariners can pick up game 2, all is well in the world again. We're happy. It's not a Juice WRLD type of night anymore. It's not depresso mode. We have to, if we go home split in this series, with Kirby going to game 3, there's a shot we take him in 4. There is a shot. Oh, yeah. However tiny that shot might be, it exists. And so, by golly, I'm not going to let the hope die out yet. But as Bane said in The Dark Knight Rises, there cannot be true despair without hope.
Nope. And playoff baseball, you never know what is going to happen, which I love. That's the beauty of baseball. Never know. And each pitch. But
postseason baseball.
We're going to move into the NLDS, our last segment here. Our last 2 matches, and we're going to go a little quickly as we're low on time here. Sure. So we're going to start with Philly versus Atlanta. For me, this is a very even match right here. As the teams are right now, in terms of like how they're playing, I feel like it's very even. And so far in game 1, Nick Castellanos was the highlight player for the Phillies. He already shut down Atlanta pitching. And the pitching for Philly already dominant right there. And that's a really good sign for Philly. But they have another game in Atlanta, and then they could bring it back home. Do you think they can go all 5 games?
I think it will go 5 games. Yeah, because Max Fried struggled in game 1. Could be due to rest. He's had a long time off. And so there's that question of rest versus rust. The Atlanta Braves, as a team, had 5 days off, and Fried did not pitch the last game of the season, so he's had an extended amount of time not really doing much, not getting those game reps. And Fried can be susceptible to the long ball. His changeup is one of the best in the game, but when he misses, it goes very far. So the Phillies, I think, are finally hitting their stride after a long drought like the Mariners have. It's been, 10, 11 years?
Yep.
Harper, obviously, we know he's going to be good. Castellanos is going to be good. Who's their catcher? JT Realmuto, he's going to be good. Segura's in that lineup for him. So they got some sticks, and they've got the pitching. Like we said, Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola. They had a guy go yesterday, Ranger Suarez, who was good. I never even heard of him. He's kind of a soft tosser, but he gets the job done. So the Phillies have a great team. And if anybody has a shot to take down the Braves, I think the Phillies have put themselves in a good spot.
Oh, I definitely agree. And our last matchup, San Diego versus LA.
Why don't you take this one?
I will take this one. No way. After game 1, 5-3, Cougars made a little bit of a small comeback, but wasn't enough against LA pitching, of course. But do I think we have the power against LA? No, I really don't. And one thing that I like what Big Poppy said yesterday is we've been doing the same tactics and strategies versus LA for the last 2 years, and it's not been working. We need to switch something up in terms of the lineup or the starting lineup in the rotation, back end, because there's nothing going on right now. We can't. Every time we show up versus Dodgers, we just get slapped around.
Yeah.
And you know what? Yes, as much as I hate to say it, Dodgers still own us. I hate to say it. I have to be true to myself, okay? I can't be like here saying as a little brother, yeah, we still own the Dodgers. No, we never have. Probably at some point maybe we will. I don't know, as history will tell, but I believe this will maybe, I hope it goes to Game 4 at least. If I can see the Padres win at least one game at home at Petco, because we haven't had a home game at Petco since 2008. And that is since I was 7 years old. If I can see a game winning there, I will die happy. But it will also be a failure in our season as we went all in, gave up all of our prospects in Juan Soto and Josh Bell, and just to only lose in the DS round. But that's my thoughts. But Dodgers are just a juggernaut team. We can't do anything about it.
And they're the best team in the league by far. I mean, you don't win 110, 111 games by accident. I mean, they have the best lineup in the big leagues. Their pitching is no slouch. One of the best rotations in baseball. The bullpen's their only question. So if you're going to win this series, that's where you got to attack them.
I agree. But before we end our show tonight, one more thing. We're going to go from AL to NL. Who do you think is going to win each matchup, starting with Cleveland and New York?
So I think probably the Yankees will find a way to win that. You know what? No. Guardians. I got the Guardians in 4.
Guardians in 4?
Yep, they're going to win the next 3.
Really? I would love to see that. And I believe that will be low-key a victory for America. But But realistically, I think it'll be Yankees in 4. That's the way I see it. And now Seattle and Houston.
Oh man, the Mariner. I'm a ride and die Mariner fan. I mean, I watch these guys every day, and my mood is determined by how they do, which isn't healthy some of the time. But it's Houston's a great team. They took it to us all year. But I think they're going to find a way. Yes, sir. Mariners in 5. Yes, sir. They're taking it.
I'm jumping on the train as well. Mariners in 5 as well. All right. NL, Atlanta, Phillies. Who do you got?
I'm going to pick Atlanta in this one because I think Spencer Strider is going to come out of somewhere. I don't know if they have him lined up to start or if he's going to come out of the bullpen. But that kid is good.
Oh, yeah.
And when he comes into the ballgame, he will make a difference, and he will tilt the series in Atlanta's favor.
And he just signed a contract as well.
That Atlanta core is locked up till like 2028. They're going to be good for a long time.
Yep. No question there, but Atlanta in 5. That's going to be a back and forth, but Atlanta's going to come out. And lastly, but not least, I'll let you take this one first. San Diego, LA.
Yeah, I'm sorry to do this to you. I think the Dodgers are going to win it. In fact, I think the Dodgers are probably going to win the World Series this year, unfortunately, because there's not a team I hate more than the Dodgers.
Amen. I agree, but just like you with Mariners, I'm a ride or die. San Diego in 5. I would love to see San Diego pull a big upset somehow. I want to see it. You know what? Even better, San Diego, Seattle World Series. I want to see it. That is a World Series before I want to see. But any last thoughts before we close this out?
October baseball is the greatest time of year, and you never know what you're going to see. You got wild comebacks by the Mariners. You have terrible blown games by the Mariners, and that's just in one series. Who knows what's going to happen in the rest around the country? There are magical moments everywhere popping up all the time. You have to ride every single pitch, and that's what you got to love about October postseason baseball.
I agree. And October baseball is the best type of in all sports. Postseason type of sports.
Either that or March Madness. We might
March Madness. That's good. Okay, we'll maybe on another episode, but that's up for debate. But as baseball lovers here, October baseball, nothing could get better than that.
That's exactly right.
That is all the time we have for On Deck here. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you want to see more episodes, check out our Cable 8 YouTube channel, like this video, and make sure you follow our socials on Wazoo Sports Network on Instagram and Twitter. Thank you so much for joining me tonight and Andrew, and we'll see you back here next week on The Desk. Have a good night.